Here's something that sounds impossible. Build a city of over 1 million people in the middle of a tropical jungle. No concrete, no steel, no modern engineering, just stone, water management, and human ingenuity. And make it work for 600 years. That's exactly what the Khmer Empire did. Angkor, their capital, was one of the largest pre-industrial cities in the world, covering over 400 square miles. That's bigger than modern-day Los Angeles. And at the center, Angkor Wat, a temple so massive it's the largest religious monument on Earth. The entire complex covers 400 acres and was built in just 30 years by tens of thousands of workers. But here's what makes the Khmer Empire really incredible: the engineering. They built a hydraulic system, reservoirs, canals, and channels that captured monsoon rains, irrigated rice fields, and supported 1 million people in an environment that should have made large cities impossible. The Khmer proved that if you understand your environment deeply enough, you can turn challenges into advantages. So how do you build a civilization in the jungle? How do you manage water to feed 1 million people? And what happens when that system breaks down? I'm Jack, this is Blueprints of Power, and today we're exploring one of history's most impressive feats of engineering and adaptation. Let's go.
Schemes in the shadows, plans in the light. Kings and conquerors chasing the night. Brick by brick, their stories grow tall. But every empire learns how to fall.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Blueprints of Power. I'm Jack.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Charlie.
Today, we're covering the Khmer Empire, and this is one of those civilizations that when you learn about it, you just think, how did they do that?
Because they built a city in the jungle.
A massive city in the jungle. Angkor, at its peak, had over 1 million people, making it one of the largest cities in the world in the 11th and 12th centuries. For comparison, London at that time had maybe 20,000 people.
So Angkor was 50 times bigger than London?
Roughly, yes. And it was in Southeast Asia, modern-day Cambodia, in a tropical environment with monsoons, floods, droughts, and thick jungle. Building a large city there requires solving incredible engineering challenges.
So how'd they do it?
Water management. The Khmer built the most sophisticated hydraulic engineering system in the pre-industrial world. Massive reservoirs called barays, intricate canal networks, moats around temples. They controlled water flow to irrigate rice fields, prevent flooding, and support the population.
So they mastered their environment?
Completely. And the Khmer Empire lasted from about 802 to 1431 AD, over 600 years. They built hundreds of temples, controlled much of mainland Southeast Asia, and created art and architecture that still amazes people today.
Angkor Wat is from the Khmer.
Angkor Wat is the most famous Khmer temple, yes. Built in the early 11th century by King Suryavarman II. It's dedicated to the Hindu god Vishnu initially, though later it becomes a Buddhist temple.
So they're Hindu and Buddhist?
Both at different times. The Khmer blend Hinduism and Buddhism with indigenous beliefs. It's a syncretic religious culture.
That sounds complicated.
It creates rich cultural and artistic traditions. The temples are covered with carvings of Hindu gods, Buddhist figures, and scenes from epic stories like the Ramayana and Mahabharata.
So today we're covering how the Khmer built this jungle empire, how they maintained it for 600 years, and what eventually caused it to decline.
And I think what's most impressive is the engineering. The Khmer water system is so sophisticated that modern engineers study it to understand how they managed resources at that scale.
All right, I'm ready. Lily, where do the Khmer come from?
Okay, so the Khmer people have been in Southeast Asia for thousands of years, but the Khmer Empire as a unified state begins in 802 AD with a king named Jayavarman II.
What does he do?
Jayavarman II declares himself a god king, a Devaraja in Sanskrit. This concept blends Hindu ideas of divine kingship with local traditions. The king isn't just a political leader, he's a representative of the gods on earth.
So like the Egyptian pharaoh or Chinese emperor?
Similar. and this gives the king enormous authority. And Jayavarman II establishes his capital in the Angkor region, in the lowlands near Tonle Sap Lake, the largest freshwater lake in Southeast Asia.
Why there?
Perfect location. Tonle Sap Lake has this unique feature. During monsoon season, water from the Mekong River flows backward into the lake, making it expand to 3 or 4 times its normal size. This floods the surrounding areas with nutrient-rich water.
So it's like natural irrigation?
Natural fertilization. The flood deposits silt and nutrients, making the land incredibly fertile for rice farming. The Khmer can grow multiple rice crops per year. This agricultural surplus supports a large population and funds monumental building projects.
So geography gives them an advantage.
Huge advantage. But the Khmer also have to manage the water. Monsoons bring too much water at once, floods. Dry season brings too little, droughts. So they need to capture and store monsoon water for use during the dry season.
That's where the engineering comes in?
Exactly. And over the next few centuries, successive Khmer kings build an increasingly sophisticated water system. They build barays, massive rectangular reservoirs that can store millions of gallons of water.
How big are these reservoirs?
The West Baray at Angkor is over 5 miles long and 1.5 miles wide. It can hold about 48 million cubic meters of water. That's enormous for a pre-industrial society.
That must have taken thousands of workers.
Tens of thousands, probably, and they build canals to channel water from rivers into the barays and then from the barays to rice paddies. They create a network that captures monsoon water, stores it, and distributes it year-round.
So they're beating nature?
Working with nature. They're not fighting the monsoons. They're adapting their system to capture and use monsoon water productively.
Smart.
Very smart. And in the late 800s and 900s, the Khmer Empire expands. They conquer neighboring territories in what's now Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. They control important trade routes between India and China.
So they're getting wealthy from trade too?
Trade and agriculture, and they use that wealth to build temples. Khmer kings compete to build bigger and more elaborate temples as acts of devotion and displays of power.
So temples are like their pyramids or cathedrals.
Exactly. And in 1113, King Suryavarman II comes to power. He's a military leader who expands the empire further, but he's most famous for building Angkor Wat.
Finally, tell us about Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat is built between about 1113 and 1150, roughly 30 to 35 years of construction. It's dedicated to Vishnu, the Hindu preserver god, and it's massive. The temple complex covers 400 acres. The central tower is 213 feet tall. The outer wall is over 2 miles around.
How many workers did that take?
Estimates range from 300,000 workers contributing labor over the construction period. And the engineering is incredible. They quarried sandstone blocks from a mountain 25 miles away and transported them by boat and elephant.
Elephants carrying stones.
They used elephants as construction equipment, and the temple is covered with bas-relief carvings, over half a mile of carved stone depicting Hindu myths, battles, and scenes from the king's reign.
That's insane attention to detail.
The craftsmanship is extraordinary, and Angkor Wat becomes the centerpiece of Angkor, the capital city that grows around it.
So Angkor is the city, Angkor Wat is one temple in it?
Correct! Angkor is the urban complex covering over 400 square miles. Angkor Wat is the largest and most famous temple, but there are hundreds of others: Angkor Thom, Bayon, Ta Prohm, Preah Khan.
So it's like a city of temples?
A city with temples everywhere. And by the 11th and 12th centuries, Angkor is at its peak. 1 million people, sophisticated infrastructure, and enormous wealth.
All right, quick break. If you're loving this exploration of the Khmer Empire, and honestly, Angkor Wat sounds unbelievable, hit that follow button. Subscribe to Blueprints of Power wherever you're listening. We're telling stories from every corner of history, and we've got so many more incredible empires to cover. Share this with someone who loves architecture, engineering, or world history, and please leave us a review. Every review helps new listeners discover the show, and we read every single one. Tell us what you're learning, what empires you want to hear about, what you think. All right, back to the Khmer Empire, because we're about to get into how they governed, maintained their water systems, and created one of the most impressive civilizations in Southeast Asia. Let's go!
Okay, so Angkor is at its peak with 1 million people. How do they actually run this empire?
Let me break down the Khmer recipe for power. Ingredient number 1, the hydraulic system. This is the foundation of everything. The barrays, canals, and moats aren't just for show. They're functional engineering.
How does it actually work?
During the monsoon season from May to October, heavy rains fall. The canals channel water from rivers and run off into the barrays for storage. During the dry season from November to April, they open gates and let water flow from the barrays through canals to irrigate rice fields.
So they're timing water release?
Precisely timing it. And they can grow 2 or 3 rice crops per year instead of 1, which creates the agricultural surplus that feeds the population and supports the temples and army.
So water management is power?
Water management is power. Control the water, control the food, control the empire.
That's brilliant.
And ingredient 2, the God-King system. The king is divine, an incarnation of Hindu gods or a bodhisattva in Buddhism. This gives him absolute authority.
So nobody questions him?
Questioning the king is questioning the gods, and the king demonstrates his divine status by building temples. The bigger and more elaborate the temple, the more powerful the king appears.
So temples are religious and political?
Completely intertwined. And ingredient 3, a complex bureaucracy. The Khmer have officials who manage provinces, collect taxes, oversee construction projects, and maintain the water system.
What are taxes like?
Mostly in goods and labor. Farmers give a portion of their rice harvest. People owe labor service, corvée, to build temples, maintain canals, and serve in the army.
So it's like the Inca Mita system?
Very similar. And ingredient 4, military power. The Khmer maintain armies to defend the empire and conquer neighbors. They have infantry, cavalry, and importantly, war elephants.
War elephants again. I love war elephants.
They're effective. Elephants can carry soldiers, break enemy lines, and intimidate opponents. The Khmer fight frequent wars with the Cham people to the east, in modern Vietnam, and the Thai kingdoms to the west.
Are they always winning?
Not always. In 1177, the Cham actually invade and sack Angkor, but King Jayavarman VII drives them out and becomes one of the greatest Khmer rulers.
What does he do?
Jayavarman VII rules from 1181 to about 1218, and he's a prolific builder. He builds Angkor Thom, a new fortified capital city with the Bayon Temple at its center. The Bayon has these enormous stone faces, over 200 of them, carved into the towers.
Stone faces?
Serene faces, each about 7 feet tall, looking in all directions. They might represent the king, or the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara, or both. They're meant to show that the king sees everything.
That's creepy and cool at the same time.
It's impressive. And Jayavarman VII also builds hospitals, rest houses along roads, and more temples. He converts from Hinduism to Mahayana Buddhism and promotes Buddhism throughout the empire.
So religion is shifting?
Over time, yes. Earlier Khmer kings were Hindu, but by the 1200s, Buddhism becomes more dominant, though both coexist and people blend them together.
So they're tolerant?
Generally, yes. And ingredient 5, art and culture. Khmer art is distinctive. The bas-relief carvings, the Apsara dancers carved into temple walls, the massive stone faces. They create a visual language that's uniquely Khmer.
What are apsaras?
Celestial dancers or nymphs from Hindu and Buddhist mythology. Angkor Wat has over 1,800 Apsara carvings, each unique.
They carved 1,800 individual figures?
Yes, the attention to detail is extraordinary. And ingredient 6, trade connections. Angkor sits on trade routes between India and China. Merchants pass through bringing goods, ideas, and technologies.
So they're connected to the wider world?
Definitely. Chinese envoys visit Angkor and write descriptions of the city. Enormous temples, bustling markets, elaborate ceremonies. One envoy describes seeing the king ride out on an elephant with a golden sword, surrounded by hundreds of officials and soldiers.
That sounds spectacular.
It must have been. And for about 400 years, from the 800s to the 1200s, Angkor thrives. But by the late 1200s and 1300s, problems emerge.
What starts going wrong?
Before we get into the decline of the Khmer Empire, I want to note that studying how civilizations adapt to their environments and what happens when those systems break down is incredibly relevant today as we face environmental challenges. The Khmer story has lessons about sustainability and limits. If you're enjoying Blueprints of Power, please share this episode. Understanding how past civilizations dealt with environmental challenges can inform how we approach ours. And please leave us a review. It helps us reach more listeners and continue telling these important stories. All right, time to talk about what happened to the Khmer Empire and why Angkor was eventually abandoned. Let's get into it.
Okay, so Angkor is thriving in the 1200s. What causes the decline?
The decline is gradual and caused by multiple interconnected factors. First, environmental stress. The hydraulic system that made Angkor possible also created vulnerabilities.
How so?
The system requires constant maintenance. Canals silt up, reservoirs need dredging. If maintenance slips, the whole system starts failing, and recent research suggests that by the 1300s, the system was degrading.
Why?
Possibly overuse. The population might have grown too large for the system to sustainably support. Or climate change. Evidence suggests the monsoons became more erratic with intense floods followed by severe droughts.
So the environment turns against them?
The environmental balance shifts. And when your entire civilization depends on water management, small changes can cascade. Too much water damages infrastructure. Too little water means crop failures.
So they're losing control of the water.
Gradually, yes. And second problem, deforestation. To build all those temples and support 1 million people, the Khmer cut down forests for timber and farmland. Deforestation causes erosion, which silts up canals and reservoirs faster.
So they're undermining their own system?
Unintentionally, yes. And third problem, political instability. After the 1200s, Khmer kings become weaker. There are succession disputes, and the God-king system loses legitimacy.
Why does it lose legitimacy?
When things go wrong, crop failures, floods, military defeats, people question whether the king really has divine favor. If the gods were on his side, why is the empire suffering?
So the ideology breaks down?
It weakens, yes. And fourth problem, external threats. The Thai kingdoms to the west are growing stronger. They adopt Khmer culture and building techniques, but they're rivals competing for territory.
So the Thais are becoming powerful?
Very powerful, and they attack Khmer territories repeatedly. In 1431, the Thai kingdom of Ayutthaya sacks Angkor.
They conquer the capital?
They sack it, yes, and while the Khmer aren't completely defeated, this is a catastrophic blow. Shortly after, the Khmer abandon Angkor.
They just leave?
They relocate the capital southeast to Phnom Penh near the Mekong River. There are several theories why. The Thai threat, the degrading water system, maybe a shift toward maritime trade making coastal locations more valuable.
So Angkor just gets abandoned?
Gradually abandoned. Some monks continue living in the temples, especially Angkor Wat, which remains a Buddhist pilgrimage site. But the city empties out. The jungle reclaims the buildings. Within a generation, Angkor is mostly abandoned.
That's eerie. 1 million-person city just emptied.
It is. And the jungle consumes it. Trees grow through temples. Roots break apart stones. For centuries, Angkor is forgotten by the outside world. Local Khmer people know it's there, but Europeans don't learn about it until French explorers discover it in the 1860s.
So it's hidden for 400 years?
From the Western world, yes. And when Europeans finally see Angkor Wat and the other temples, they're stunned. How could such magnificent ruins exist in the jungle? Who built them?
What's the Khmer legacy?
The Khmer legacy is enormous in Cambodia. Modern Cambodian identity is deeply connected to the Angkor period. Angkor Wat is on the Cambodian flag. It's a source of national pride.
Is Angkor restored now?
Partially. Angkor is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and there's ongoing conservation work. Millions of tourists visit each year. But it's challenging. The jungle constantly threatens the structures, and you have to balance preservation with allowing access.
What about the water system?
That's fascinating. Archaeologists, using satellite imaging and ground surveys, have mapped the full extent of the hydraulic system. It's even more complex than anyone realized. And some researchers think we can learn from Khmer water management for modern sustainability challenges.
So ancient engineering is teaching us stuff today?
Absolutely. The Khmer understood their environment deeply and created sophisticated systems to work with it. That knowledge is valuable.
All right, we've covered the rise, peak, and fall of the Khmer Empire. Time for lessons. What can we learn from the civilization that built a 1,000,000-person city in the jungle? Charlie, you're first.
Here's mine. Your greatest strength can become your greatest weakness. The Khmer hydraulic system was brilliant and made Angkor possible, but it also created dependency. When the system started failing, whether from environmental change, deforestation, or maintenance issues, the whole civilization was vulnerable. The lesson? Don't create single points of failure. Diversify your foundations. Whether it's water systems, revenue streams, or core competencies, depending too heavily on one thing makes you fragile.
Redundancy is resilience.
Exactly.
That's perfect. Mine's about sustainability and limits. The Khmer might have pushed their environment too far, too many people, too much deforestation, too much stress on the water system. The lesson? Every environment has carrying capacity. You can be incredibly innovative and engineering savvy, but if you exceed environmental limits, the system eventually fails. Whether it's ancient empires or modern civilization, we have to respect environmental boundaries.
Work with nature's limits, not against them.
Exactly.
Both excellent. Mine's about adaptation and location. The Khmer succeeded because they understood their specific environment, the monsoons, the lake, the jungle, and designed systems specifically for it. They didn't try to build like Egypt or Rome. They created Khmer solutions for Khmer conditions. The lesson? Context matters. Solutions that work in one environment might fail in another. Don't just copy what others do. Understand your specific situation and adapt accordingly. Success comes from fit, not just from best practices.
Local solutions for local conditions.
Exactly.
That's really important.
The Khmer Empire is incredible. I want to see Angkor Wat in person.
It's breathtaking, especially at sunrise.
And it reminds us that sophisticated civilizations existed all over the world, not just in places we usually learn about.
Every continent has incredible history.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for hanging with us on Blueprints of Power.
I'm Lily.
I'm Charlie.
And I'm Jack, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.